last year we did a list of the 100 best movies of all time, and it was done by Variety, and it was probably one of the worst cinematic lists ever known to humankind. This is the 100 best horror movies of all time, also from Variety, and just quickly perusing it, it might be the second worst list of all time.
I think it might be worse.
Well, let's just get into it so we can show people exactly what we mean. This is according to Variety, not us. Coming in at number 100, I will look to you, Mark Ronner. Most of these movies I don't know, but the ones I do know, they're wildly out of place as far as their ranking.
Oh, there's some stinkers on here. And I got to warn you, before we really get into the meat of this, critics generally are not horror film fans. So, going into this to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But this is just outright clickbait approaching rage bait. There are some weird choices on here.
There are movies on this list which aren't even horror movies.
Yes.
We'll get into it. Coming in at number 100 of the best horror movies of all time, Repulsion. Okay, whatever.
Polanski.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Fine, 100. Number 99, Suspiria.
That's the best thing Argento has done. That's it's a masterpiece.
It should be higher than 99.
Agree, yeah.
Okay. 98, The Devil's Backbone. I'm not a big Guillermo del Toro fan when it comes to horror.
Well, it's a worthy movie, but is it in the top 100 best of all time? I don't know about that.
Number 97, The Haunting, the 1963 version.
Another masterpiece.
Yeah. Higher than 97.
Oh, yeah, especially when you look at some of the stuff that's up higher.
I just highlight it because we'll come back to that again and again.
I'm trying to not use all the words we can't use on the radio.
This is where I about threw my phone across the room. Coming in at number 96, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. For me, it has to be top 10.
It deserves to be far higher than that.
I can listen to arguments like, well, Bo, you forgot about this. Okay, and you move it down to 20, but not 97. Don't tell me that there are 95 movies which are better, more impactful, more meaningful to the genre than the 1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, especially on this list.
95, Dead Alive.
Early Peter Jackson. It's entertaining, but I wouldn't put it on this list. Not on the top 100.
Yeah. 94, Event Horizon. I personally really like the movie. It's not top 100. I can separate and compartmentalize. Just because I like something, it doesn't make it great.
I've had that on my rewatch list for years now. It didn't leave me with a very strong impression when I first saw it.
Yeah, it was okay. And also I have a friend who's in the movie, so I have an affinity for movies like that.
Oh, who?
The brother of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Richard Jones, his name.
Nice.
Number 93, Cat People.
Val Lewton. If you don't know who that is, he was a producer of black and white kind of short B films in, I guess, generally the 40s and 50s. And they're all just absolutely wonderful. You could pick any one of them, including Cat People. I Walked with a Zombie. His whole oeuvre, I guess, should be on this list. He's terrific.
The Human Centipede Part 2.
Yeah, this is where we start wanting to throw chairs.
Yeah. Better than Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Okay.
Why is this even there? Who's responsible for this? And why haven't they been fired?
Number 91, Dead of Night. Didn't see it.
Oh, that's good. It's a British anthology, what they call a portmanteau movie with several different stories in it.
Don't you be using words like portmanteau.
Well, that's what they call it. We call them anthology. Dead of Night's not bad at all.
Number 90 is A Page of Madness. Not familiar.
I didn't know that one either.
89, Horror of Dracula. 58.
That should be higher. That's from Hammer Films, that fantastic British company that kind of flourished from, I'd say, the late 50s to the early 70s. And there's a lot of terrific historic Hammer stuff that's not on this list. And that's infuriating. Like, where's The Curse of Frankenstein?
That's not on the list?
Where is Brides of Dracula, which is one of the all-time greatest?
88, Blood Feast.
Herschel Gordon Lewis, the first real true gore film. It belongs on there just for historic reasons.
87, The Vanishing. I barely remember it.
It's good, but iffy.
86, Village of the Damned.
Terrific.
I'll listen to it. Yeah, exactly. I don't mind it being there. 85, Reanimator, yes. I'll just say on the list. I don't know where.
That's fine.
84, Dead Ringers.
Okay.
Cronenberg.
Here's where we have an issue, because Cronenberg is one of the masters. Dead Ringers isn't really a horror film, and you're going to put Dead Ringers on there, but not Scanners, not the Dead Zone.
He did Scanners?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites as well. I didn't know. For some reason, I didn't make the connection.
I can watch Scanners almost any day.
I watched that like 2 weeks ago.
It's your first exploding head film.
And you know what? Yeah. That's a movie I would be open to a remake.
I would like to see that universe expanded.
Yes.
And as a music fan, you have to love the Howard Shore soundtrack score to Scanners. It's terrific.
83, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, is it a horror movie? No, it's a horror spoof.
It's a comedy.
Yeah.
And you've got Little Shop of Horrors, which is from Roger Corman, but you don't have Corman's Edgar Allan Poe movies on there, like The Pit and the Pendulum, The Mask of the Red Death. Go to hell with this.
82, What Lies Beneath. That is not a horror movie.
Yeah, again, people need to be losing their jobs for that one.
81, The Wolfman. Okay.
Yeah, all the Universal stuff belongs on there. 80,
House of Wax. I remember some of it.
It's kind of a historic gimme. You got to have it in there.
79, The Omen. Yes, should be higher.
Agreed.
78, Angst.
I didn't know that one. That's an obscure choice, and it just kind of goes to my point that some of these critics are so jaded, they want to kind of show off by throwing some way out of left field thing in there. If I, as a lifetime horror fan, have never heard of that, your head's all the way up your tailpipe.
77, The Blob.
Yeah.
I think it's meaningful. It's relevant. Yeah. 76, I Walked with a Zombie.
No, that's another Val Lewton, the same one as Cat People. Mm-hmm. Terrific.
75, The Descent.
It's kind of you could accuse them of recency bias, but the first Descent movie really is an arm, a grip of the. I'm trying to say it'll make you grip the arm of your chair. Mm-hmm. I took it to another. I took another hardcore horror fan with me to the critics screening of that way back when. Our eyes were both like saucers by the end of that. 74, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
I put it on there for this reason. I think it is genre defining for its time.
Yeah, people dig it.
73, Blood for Dracula.
Okay, that's one of those two Andy Warhol Dracula and Frankenstein movies. They were nothing but shocking, kind of dirty stuff for the time. They're not actual good horror films.
72, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yep,
yes.
Yep.
71, Hostel Part 2, meaning that Hostel Part 1? Never mind.
Absolutely not. Rot in hell, whoever put that on there.
And the last one before we go to break, The Wailing.
Shudder has that, and that's been on my watch list forever. It's got a good reputation, but I don't know it, haven't seen it.
We're listening back to some of our favorite conversations this year. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI and iHeartRadio.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, iHeartRadio, it's Later with Mo Kelly, and we're listening back to when we counted down the top 100 horror movies of all time.
Number 69, Near Dark, Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, I don't love that like a lot of people do, but it's a great horror vampire film, a landmark vampire movie, and I guess it deserves to be on there. That's some good Lance Henriksen, too, by the way.
Number 68, The Sixth Sense, which put M. Night Shyamalan on the mat. I don't think of this as a horror movie. I think of it as a psychological thriller. Just because it includes dead people doesn't make it horror.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it also is the one that kind of showed that M. Night made a big splash, but turned out to be kind of a one-trick pony for a very long time.
He did. 67, Possession.
That has had a growing reputation.
Sam Neill movie, right?
Over the decades, yeah. And what is it, Isabella Gianni?
Mm-hmm. You think you're right?
It didn't leave me with a huge impression, but it's one of those movies that's quiet and then just shocking.
66, The Babadook.
Decent.
Okay. 65, The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Not a horror film.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible movie based on a book by Richard Matheson.
Mm-hmm.
And I could watch that any day. It's just, it holds up wonderfully, but where's the horror? Did they not have enough horror films to choose from? Because I can name some they left out that they could have put in instead.
They must have, because as we get further in this list, you'll realize that this is really not a horror list.
Yeah, The Shrinking Man should be on a list of great sci-fi movies.
Sci-fi, yes. 64, Planet Terror.
Absolutely not. Go to hell.
63, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Sure.
Sure, right, sure.
Which version, though? Which version did they
Oh,
have
the
on this?
31 version.
Okay, yeah, there's several. Just pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to this, though. Coming in at number 62, okay, of the 100 best horror movies of all time, on a list which saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers at 96, with Donald Sutherland, with one of the most classic scenes of all time. Jeff Goldblum, it was a wonderful cast, okay? That was 96. Coming in at number 62, Gremlins.
Well, I'm not going to badmouth Joe Dante. I think he's a great director, but that doesn't belong there.
It's not a horror movie.
Not really, no.
It's more a Christmas movie than it is a horror movie, and it's just not a horror movie.
Whoever put that there doesn't understand horror.
61, Candyman. I think it's on the list, but I would put it closer to 100.
Yeah, let's just keep moving.
Okay. Number 60, Funny Games.
Okay, have you seen Funny Games, the original?
I have not.
It's more suspense than horror, first of all. And there's more than one version. There's an American version as well. Go ahead,
I just recently watched it because I was morbidly curious and was like, oh, it's like, what's the most twisted movie? And a lot of things that came up was Funny Games. And it's pretty rough.
It makes those lists because it's absolutely nihilistic and pointless.
Yeah.
Number 59, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Never have seen that.
Either have I. Number 58, Raw, Eddie Murphy. No, not Eddie Murphy.
Well, it'd be a toss-up between that and the Raw that they did include. I'm not a fan of the Raw that they put on this list. And I've seen a lot of kind of effete film snobs praise that movie over the years. And
you were the first person to use effete on the radio.
It makes me want to punch those people in the neck.
Number 57, Peeping Tom.
That's decent, but it's not a horror film. Powell and Pressburger. Yeah.
Number 56, I don't mind this movie, and I don't mind it in this location. The Fly.
The Cronenberg Fly.
Yes.
Yeah,
it might even be a little higher, honestly.
It's really a wonderful film, and I just rewatched it for the first time since it came out recently. It holds up phenomenally well. Yeah.
And it's such a sad movie because it only ends one way.
And the ending just leaves you sitting there with your mouth hanging open. Yeah, it's great.
Number 55, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari? Okay.
Yeah, you kind of have to have that because it was one of the first.
54, Let the Right One In. I didn't see this one, but I hear good things about it.
Well, there's an American version and a foreign version, and they're both very good.
Number 53, I've never understood this movie. I've never understood the appeal of this movie, but I understand why, as far as horror genre, it's on every list. Eraserhead.
I saw that on a double bill when I was a teenager with the original Night of the Living Dead, and I wasn't the same for several days afterward. It's messed up.
52, Blood and Black Lace of 64.
Early Mario Bava, more of a giallo than a horror, but whatever. Compared to some of the other outrages on this list, it's not that bad.
Number 51, Irreversible.
Okay, do you know that movie?
I do not.
It is a really intense movie about a rape that is told backward. I think Gaspar Noé was the director. It's not a horror film. I mean, it's tough to get through, but it's not a horror film.
Number 50, Onibaba.
Onibaba, yeah, it's I think Japanese horror film. It's been years since I've seen it. That's quality.
Number 49, The Witch, 2015 version.
little grade inflation, a little recency bias with that one. It's very good, but it's not one of the 100 best of all time. That's at Robert Eggers, isn't it?
Yes. Now, here is a debate to be had. Number 48, Alfred Hitchcock. I don't believe Alfred Hitchcock, all of his stuff was horror. Some of it was more psychological thriller, I believe.
For sure.
48, The Birds.
Well, I think The Birds kind of is horror because you never get an explanation for these bird attacks, and it just abruptly ends. And when you see somebody in the midst of a bird maelstrom getting pecked to death, that sure is horrific.
Number 47, it's not a horror movie. It is literally a different genre, Godzilla, the 1954 version. It's tragic. Godzilla goes to town and destroys a city, but just because people die doesn't make it a horror movie.
Well, there's your side debate. Is a giant monster kaiju movie really a horror movie? I'm not so sure it is.
Number 46, yes, it deserves to be on this list, and yes, it deserves to be higher on my list. The 1982 movie, The Thing.
Oh, way higher.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And it was a flop when it came out, and it's done nothing but gain cred over the decades. I've seen that movie so many times, I know it chapter and verse.
Number 45, The Invisible Man. Yes, just because, you know. Yeah. Number 44, Manhunter.
I don't know if it's horror, but it's one of Michael Mann's greatest.
Yeah. 43, Vampire, PYR.
The Theodore Dreyer one.
32.
Carl Theodore Dreyer.
Yep.
Got to have that.
Number 42, I like this movie. I don't know where I would place it. 28 Days Later.
Oh, way too high. Way too high. It's a quality film, and it's pretty tense. And even though the director, Danny Boyle, insists it's not zombies, it's zombies.
Number 41, The Devils, 1971.
Yeah, that one's hard to find, and it is really a shocking ordeal of a movie to go through. If you've never seen that, strap yourself in, track down a copy. It's very good, and make sure there's several different versions floating around too, and that's like a side vocation for people finding different versions of that to watch.
Last one for this break. Number 40 is Bride of Frankenstein.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%. Should be way up high.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. More of the top 100 horror movies, according to some 12-year-olds at Variety, when we come back.
Don't go anywhere. We'll have more of some of the best of 2024 as we listen back.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to some of the best from 2024. And right now, on Later with Mo Kelly, we're counting down the top 100 horror movies of all time, or at least according to Variety, and they're wrong.
Coming in at number 39 is a freaking musical, Quieten.
Are you sure that's a musical? I don't think that's a musical.
Oh, well, it seems like a musical.
No, that's a Japanese horror film. It's good.
Okay.
That's a quality film. They didn't screw up on that particular one.
Okay. I take it back then. Number 38, Freaks of 1932.
Yeah, that's another one that didn't do great when it came out, and it kind of destroyed Todd Browning's career for a while because nobody really wanted to see actual freaks in a movie. But again, its reputation picked up over the years, and now it's considered a masterpiece.
Number 37, Deep Red, Profondo Rosso.
Yeah, Dario Argento. I think Suspiria, which is way up higher, belongs in front of it, though.
Number 36, Hereditary.
Yeah, another great inflation, a recency bias, rather. That doesn't belong that far up. It's good, though.
Shouldn't be on the list at all.
Look, I don't think anything made
go.
in the past 10 years should be on this list. I'm being honest. I think it has to age like wine and let history tell the story of its impact.
So you know how, like, you've been saying, like, children were put in charge of this list? Whoever was in charge of writing Hereditary, I think they put their children to, let their kids do it.
I thought Hereditary was a decent movie, but it's certainly not one of the 100 greatest of all time. And you are just shocked with your mouth hanging open within the first few minutes of that. And the ending of Hereditary is also one where you're just kind of, that's a talker when you're walking out of the theater, but not top 100 material. Definitely not.
Number 35, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 56 version.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Number 34, Evil Dead 2 is better than that. No.
It's good. I mean, everybody loves it, but
and
I say move it further down though.
Yeah.
And I've written Evil Dead comics, so I'm prone to like it, but I think they're rating it too high.
Number 33, M, as in the letter M.
That's not a horror film.
No, it's okay. Doesn't matter. Number 32, The Night of the Hunter from 1955.
Again, not a horror film, but an absolutely phenomenal one-off from Charles Lawton, who was an actor, and it's the only film he directed. If you haven't seen that, just bump it way up to the top of your watch list. It's great.
Number 31, the Japanese movie Ringu. I guess this is what The Ring was based on.
Yeah, I guess you kind of have that. That was one of the couple that kicked off the whole J-horror trend.
Yep. Number 30, Eyes Without a Face, 1960.
Je sans visage. It's not that scary, but I guess for the time it came out, it was kind of shocking in terms of its subject matter. It's about a surgeon who cuts faces off people to put them on, I think, his daughter who's disfigured.
Like the movie Face Off?
They're distant cousins, maybe.
Okay. Number 29, Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
The 25 version.
Yeah, there's a Hammer version from, I think, the late 50s. That's pretty good, too.
Isn't that a musical?
No,
not that one.
Well, there's
adaptation.
Phantom. There's an Andrew Lloyd Webber war crime, which that's a whole different list.
Number 28, The Wicker Man.
Absolutely a masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be higher.
Yeah. And not the Neil LaBute remake either.
No, the 73
with the
version.
bees.
Yeah.
Oh, not the bees. No, this one is fantastic. It's the best thing Edward Woodward ever did, and Christopher Lee is magnificent in it, too.
27, Dracula. Yeah, of course.
Which Dracula?
31.
Okay, yeah.
26, The Innocents. CNTS.
Yeah, with Deborah Carr. That's a great film. I think it's based on Henry James' Turn of the Screw, if I'm remembering this right.
You are.
And it's a ghost story. It's not so much a horror story, but it's really good.
Number 25, I guess you can argue it's genre defining for the decade, Scream, but I don't think it's a good movie.
I'm not a fan of that at all. I don't think it should be on this list.
Look, I can think of a bunch of other slasher movies which were better than Scream.
It was genre defining. It should just be lower.
Yeah.
Way lower.
Number 24, Get the F Out of Here, The Blair Witch Project.
No way.
That was garbage.
No.
That movie was garbage. Absolute trash.
It was a prank.
Number 23, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% deserves to be very high on any list that changed pop culture, and I'm not exaggerating.
22, Carnival of Souls. I say yes.
Well, that's where George Romero got the idea for Night of the Living Dead. It's very spooky, not very scary.
Number 21, Black Sunday. Didn't see this one.
Is that another
60.
Bava? Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's an early Giallo. Not very scary.
Number 20, it was a good movie, but I don't know if it's one of the top 100. And I guess it's horror. Get Out.
No way should that be anywhere near this high, if it's even on the list.
No, look, I thought it was a nice twist, in the movie, but whatever. No. Number 19, The Mummy. Yeah.
Which one?
32.
Uh-huh.
Number 18, we have not seen a lot from this creator, The Shining. Not a lot of Stephen King on this list, as in none.
No, and Stephen King hates Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining.
He does.
There was a TV movie made of it, miniseries with Steven Weber a few years later that King actually liked.
Number 17, Diabolique.
Yeah, very good. It's a little slow, but once you get to the scare, you'll know what happened.
Number 16, yes, it is a classic horror movie, but it's not better than The Shining. Number 16 is Halloween.
Sure.
You're right. Number 15, Don't Look Now. Didn't see that one.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's a grown-up horror film. Takes place in Venice. A couple is mourning the loss of their daughter. It is messed up.
Number 14, Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror from 22. As in 1922.
Yeah, that's the one that got banned because they were accused by Bram Stoker's estate of ripping off Dracula, and so that almost disappeared. We almost don't have that today, but yeah, that belongs there.
Number 13, I can't argue with this. It might even be higher on my personal list. The Silence of the Lambs.
Again, whether or not it's a horror film is up for debate, but it's great.
Number 12. This is not a horror movie. If anything, it's closer to a love story than it is a horror movie. King Kong.
Oh, they can go soak their head. It's a kaiju movie.
Yeah. Number 11, Alien. I'll allow it if only because it was billed as a horror movie in space.
Yeah. Alien can do no wrong. Put it way up on top of every list. It's a masterpiece of any kind.
The top 10 movies of all time as it relates to the horror genre, according to Variety, when we come back.
We're listening back to some of our favorite conversations this year. It's Later with Mo Kelly.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI iHeartRadio, it's Later with Mo Kelly, and we're listening back to when we counted down the top 100 horror movies of all time.
Let's get this top 10 out of the way of the 100 best horror movies of all time, according to Variety. And I'm quite sure this will make everyone mad or not. We'll see. Coming in at number 10, and I agree it should be on the list, maybe top 20. I don't know if I put it in the top 10. Carrie, 1976.
Boy, that's a little overrated. It's a decent film and a decent Stephen King adaptation, but it doesn't belong that far up the list.
Number 9, Salo.
I've never seen that. That's got quite a reputation for being just absolutely unbearably disgusting. Torture porn.
Number 8, Frankenstein, 1931.
The Russian judges will mark you way down if you don't include that. It's one of the perfunctory ones.
Number 7, Audition. Didn't see it. 1999.
Way too high. It's slow and slow and slow until it's just unbelievably shocking. Mm-hmm. And it may be your cup of tea, it may not. Kind of a movie Rorschach test.
Number 6, Night of the Living Dead.
Absolutely.
I'll allow it. Yes. Number 5, Rosemary's Baby. I'll allow it. We can
masterpiece.
Yeah, we could debate whether it should be 4, number 3, whatever, but top 10 is fine.
Yep.
Number 4, Jaws. Not a horror movie.
film.
Is it a great movie? Yes. Is it a classic? Yes. Is it a horror movie? Hell's no.
Fire all of these people who put this list together. Fire them.
That's like saying Star Wars is a war movie. It really isn't. It really isn't. Number 3, Psycho. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
is it a horror film?
I guess so, because you stab someone in the shower. I guess
it's an absolutely brilliant, society-changing film. But is it horror?
In the way that maybe Silence of the Lambs is psychological thriller. That goes back to the debate about Hitchcock and his movies.
Yeah, I love the movie though.
Number 2, The Exorcist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me personally, and what I know about the genre generally, that would be my number 1. Because every movie since then has tried to duplicate the impact of The Exorcist.
It really did change film, in general, film.
It wasn't just a great horror film. It was a great movie that transcended the genre.
Yeah, I am working on a demonic possession project right now, and I keep trying to not imitate stuff that I saw in The Exorcist.
And number 1, the greatest horror movie of all time, according to Variety, is none other than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You know, that's a fair assessment of that. It could have been any number of others, but that is an incredible film, and I think it gets underrated for the artistry that went into that. Tobe Hooper, and again, if you're going to have a Tobe Hooper movie on the list, Poltergeist should be on here as well. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is extremely messed up and made a huge splash in the culture when it came out. And yet, for all the reputation that it's amassed, you never really see that much.
You know, the glaring omissions from this list, if you have A Nightmare on Elm Street, if you have these genre-defining movies of a decade or so, I don't see how you can have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre and not have a Jason, a Friday the 13th, somewhere in the top 100.
At least the first one, maybe.
Just the first one.
Yeah, and where's Lucio Fulci? Where's The Beyond and Zombie?
No,
I mean, those names might not mean much to non-horror fans, but to horror fans, those are in the Mount Rushmore.
How can you have a list of the best horror movies of all time, have a movie like Gremlins on the list, but not have a movie like Poltergeist, 1982? And I'll listen to the argument that it's not straight horror, but if you know the movie, there are some definite horror moments in the movie.
Yeah. Also, where's Cannibal Holocaust? I'm not making that up either. It's that was such a shocking film, released around 1980 by an Italian director named Ruggero Deodato. He had to go to court to prove that it wasn't an actual snuff film. It's a terribly shocking, and it was the first found footage horror movie as well.
No Phantasm?
Oh, yeah, Don Coscarelli's terrific. Phantasm is one of my favorites. Phantasm, or, Coscarelli's done a bunch of really good stuff. Even his John Dies at the End movie is magnificent. He's an incredible director and doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Hey, I would put Hellraiser 1 on here.
I would too. Yeah, I hate it when we agree, but I would too.
There are just some obvious omissions here.
Oh, like Martyrs. If you want one that was from the last 20 years, Martyrs. I got Foosh to watch Martyrs recently, and I think it kind of did a number on him, and as it does on everybody who sees it. Thought-provoking, original, and definitely not American, because it kind of goes places that most American mainstream films wouldn't go. Martyrs is terrific. That should be on there. The Tales from the Crypt, some of these older ones from Amicus.
Yeah.
Amicus was like second only to Hammer films in the 70s.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.